A reading from the Gospel according to St. John. After these things Jesus showed himself again to the disciples by the Sea of Tiberias. And he showed himself in this way. Gathered there together were Simon Peter, Thomas called the twin, Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, the two others of his disciples. Simon Peter said to them, "I'm going fishing." They said to him, "We will go with you." They went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Just after daybreak Jesus stood on the beach, but the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to them, "Children, you have no fish, have you?" They answered him, "No." He said to them, "Cast the net to the right side of the boat, and you will find some." And so they cast it, and now they were not able to haul it in because there were so many fish. That disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." And when Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on some clothes, for he was naked, and jumped into the sea. But the other disciples, they came in the boat, dragging the net full of fish, for they were not far from the land, only 100 yards or so off. When they had gone ashore, they saw a charcoal fire there, with fish on it and bread. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish that you've just caught." And so Simon Peter went aboard and hauled the net ashore full of large fish, 153 of them. And though there were so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." Now none of the disciples dared to ask him, "Who are you?" because they knew it was the Lord. Jesus came and took the bread and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. This was now the third time that Jesus appeared to the disciples after he was raised from the dead. There, quite frankly, are so many things to explore in today's gospel. I don't really know where to start, but, for example, why appear to only these 7 disciples? What can we possibly infer from the fact that those disciples have returned to Galilee? What links might we draw between the image of Peter and Jesus eating again around a charcoal fire? The last time this happened was, of course, the night that Peter denies him 3 times. And what is it with Peter putting clothes on before jumping into the lake? There are so many interesting details. Why 153 fish? And what significance behind the net not being torn? Could go on for hours, so what I'm going to do today is really focus on the broader message and vision that this reading gives us. A summary statement of the whole passage might be, the disciples might fish, but it is Jesus who feeds. Note, for example, first that these 7 disciples had returned to Galilee and back to their usual activities, in this case fishing. And then note that Jesus did as he always does. He met people where they were, without appointment or ceremony, and in the midst of the ordinary busyness of life, in the fields with farmhands, at the well, at the meeting house, and here at the seashore with fishermen. Note next that the gift given is given freely. The disciples receive the grace of God before they recognize Jesus. Indeed, it's possible to interpret this part of the story as it being because of the gift that the favoured disciple recognized Jesus for whom he was. And just as in how he appears, Jesus' grace is given without reserve. It's given without hesitation, without delay. Just like the woman healed by touching his robes, the grace given is unquestioning. And then the meal itself. It starts, as so often, with a command for the disciples to bring some of the fish they've just caught, and then, with bread, these fish are distributed to the gathered disciples, where once they watched Jesus feed thousands from so little, so now they are fed from so plentiful a bounty. It's inconceivable to me that they didn't draw the conclusion, the connections. As Jesus fed the multitudes, so now through him that they must continue the mission. The disciples might fish, but it's Jesus who feeds. So Peter went, and he drew the fish ashore, and Jesus then invited him to breakfast. And I can't help but note that Jesus initiates this breakfast from start to finish. He's already made the preparations, the bread and the fire, for the meal. He asks the men to contribute to contribute it. Oh, I'll put my teeth back in. To contribute it. Oh, you know what I mean. To contribute to the bounty, to it, from the bounty even, that God has provided. And he then issues the simple instruction for the disciples to join him. Is this invitation to come and eat not the simplest expression of the good news that there is? Salvation is initiated by God. It's made real through Jesus, and it's made available by open invitation. Come and eat. You don't need to have strong nets or successful catches. It is offered to those who try and fail. It's offered to those who come up empty. It's offered to those who fall out of the boat and those who are confused. It's offered to those impetuous fools who jump into the sea with their clothes on, and it's offered to those who've not yet discovered whose fool they are. It's offered to everyone, winners and losers alike, because God's net is big enough and strong enough for us all. And so I think the message for this is, as in the manner of the earliest church, for us to find our own ways of sharing that good news and dining upon that feast together.